Today I'm joined by Silver Dragon, and we get a good look at what it's like to be a hobbyist developer, so stay tuned. Today my guest is Silver Dragon. Now, not only is he a good friend of mine and one of the first supporters of my YouTube channel, but he's also a very skilled developer and has completed several games on GameJolt, the most recent of which has received several thousand views and had an article published about it. So I hope you guys enjoy this conversation I had with him, and let's get into it. Alright, hi, hello, welcome. 0% awkward.
Yeah, you know, just no awkward turtles in any area whatsoever. Hey, what's that over there? Is that like a nest of awkward turtles?
No, that's in my room. So, all right, just to get some introductory stuff out of the way, you've made 4 games, right? On GameJolt, anyways.
On GameJolt, I believe so.
Okay, I was gonna say, don't tell me I got the first thing wrong right away.
Yeah, because I know I did Tail of Chain, I did Eager Out Ock, I did Princess Slays the Dragon, then I did the Team Rocket game, which I canceled. And then Amorn, so 5 games.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you got the first thing wrong.
Damn. All right.
Unless you want to count the fact that, I mean, technically, no. I mean, I canceled one of them, so does it really count?
I mean, yeah, it still counts. You produced an alpha, didn't you?
Kinda. I had the minimum playable product.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. That's actually something I want to ask you about now later. But first off, the first question, the easiest question, why did you start making games?
I actually started making it because I was learning how to do batch files, and so I was making text games to begin with, and so stuff like Zork, and went from there. And then after I had made a bunch of text games, I just realized I liked making games. Found out about making found out about Game Maker Studio and started toying around with that, and then created Amorn, which was my first game, which is actually the name of the language that I created as well, because yeah, you know how I am with languages. And so thing, and people enjoyed it, and so I started making more and more.
What kind of text games? I didn't know that. What kind of text games were you making? Like, what was your goal with that?
Did you ever play Zork?
I don't think I have yet.
Alright, not a problem. So basically, it would prompt you with something to the effect of, you know, you stand in a room, the obvious exits are northeast and, you know, southwest, and or you know, and there's a window open, you know, to the and you know, there's a rug on the ground, and there's a trophy case with a sword in it, you know, and you'd be like, oh, open trophy case, you know, get sword, and, you know, things like that. And so that's how Zork worked, and so mine similar, and my very first one was a labyrinth that basically would change every turn you did something. And so you'd go north, and you know, it would tell you what the obvious exits were, and then let's say you went east, and then you went west, so you went back, and then all of a sudden the exits are different. Like, wait, the maze is changing around me. Some more and more complex ones. Eventually, I actually created Pokemon Red or Blue, and I just did that in just strictly text. Pokemon entirely, the only thing it missed was the graphics. It would even play the music depending on where you were at.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually. This actually kind of rolls into the next one. I mean, the Pokemon game is pretty easy to see where you got your inspiration from that. I don't think there's a single kid at this point that hasn't experienced Pokemon in some way. But your other games, where did you draw inspiration, and what motivated you to make those?
So my first game, Morn, I drew inspiration from Castlevania, which when I was a kid, I had the Game Boy version, which was actually probably the worst version I've seen now that I've looked at other versions. I loved the music, and I loved the play, And so Amorn's sprites are actually based off of Castlevania. I mean, say that, but like they are definitely my sprites, but it's very Castlevania. And then it was just about trying to kind of like make a game that played. There's really no like distinct what you're supposed to do in Amorn at all. I made a different game, and I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to, create a game? Like, what am I gonna do? And I was like, okay, well, I need some kind of plot. And so the next one was Princess Slays the Dragon. The idea was just simply, instead of having a knight save the princess, it was going to be the princess saving the knight. And so that was fun. Every game that I've had has had a different process of how I got the inspiration. Because then Igorot, when I did that one, for that was mostly just I wanted to make something that was centered around Filipino culture. But then Tale of Chain, which was originally Legend of Zelda End of Magic, but now it's Tale of Chain End of Magic. When I created that one, it was more I wanted to make. I wanted to expand my skill, and so it was more about just be bigger and have more stuff to do. More pets, more weapons, more everything.
Now, in Tale of Chains, you actually got featured in some publication, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, Tale of Chain got into a Japanese blog. What the name of that was. But, it was Atatabi Yasiki, a blog spot, and it was a Japanese one, so...
How'd that feel?
It was kind of interesting, because he caught it really early. Still a Legend of Zelda at that time, and just the fact that I got published was really cool, but kind of wished that I didn't publish it until later. I'm going to be doing in the future, as I'm not going to publish it until I've got something better to put out. I'm not just going to be publishing, as I go. I mean, obviously, you'll have my updates because...
Well, yeah, I mean, come on. I have to. But that's kind of how Game Jolt sets up its thing, is you're supposed to get out an early idea, and somebody might take it at the very first day, and just that first version. That can be kind of scary, I can imagine.
It is. Especially since, like, when you first got a hold of it, it was really good because you had were good advice. And from there, I had like 2 or 3 other people play it, and then I got Dragon Whelp who played it, and at that point it started to get really popular, and so now people are waiting for my next game. Not just you, but like...
I am the most eager, though. I'm the most enthusiastic, I know.
I will probably say yes. If nothing else, you're the most adamant about getting first play.
I mean, that's my thing, dude. That's my area of not expertise, I guess. No, I'm not even gonna try and use a word there.
Yeah, just stop digging.
But alright, so we've talked a little bit about the games you've made, and a little bit of how you got started. But now, once you got into them, I imagine you hit some road bumps, correct?
Yeah. Go for it.
I was gonna say, what were the biggest road bumps you faced, and how did you handle those?
So a lot of the problems I had were like code problems, and so I'd write something as simple as when this zombie gets hit by a spear, he gets sent back 2 squares, and then I'd spear and nothing. The problems I had were like code problems, and so I'd write something as simple as when this zombie gets hit by a spear, he gets sent back 2 squares, and then I'd
Okay, and you were just talking about, like, writing your code and having problems with coding stuff, right? Okay. Is there anything else along those lines that you think was a significant roadblock?
comes down to it, most of my games, there's always code that was the problem. Well, no, I did have one issue, which is when I was doing sprites, but I mean that's a typical art issue. It's just I didn't know where to get my sprites, and I was getting kind of lazy.
I guess that brings up a good point. Sprites is a huge thing for certain video game makers, or even like getting assets. Yeah. And I know you like drawing stuff, so you made a lot of your own assets after, didn't you? But where did you start looking?
But not everybody does. I actually go all over the place. There is one spot that I go to. I don't have it on my new computer here, but there was Sprites Database, which it's okay, but then Spriter's Resource, it's got a dash through it, .com. That one was the one that was really helpful. And you can see a lot of sprites, and then for me, I'd either A, get inspiration from it, or in Tale of Chain, I was getting really kind of lazy on the sprites because I wanted to do more of the game and less of the art. And so when I first started out with that, I was doing other stuff, and then I'd just credit it, on the credits page. And so I had a huge credits page. It ended up becoming 2 pages by the end.
Well, I mean, you need assets somehow, and that's quite the important part of a visual game, is having visuals.
Yeah. Exactly.
Alright, so now that we've talked about the stuff that you didn't like, what's your favorite part of the process?
Ooh, I'm split. On one hand, one of my most favorite parts is once I've got a working enemy type, like, for example, a guy that just walks towards you and stabs you. That's just all he does, right? You can start making different sprites for him, and so, different versions. I think my most favorite part of any game is when I get to watch people play it and created something that, as it's just tearing after them, that they are running away in absolute terror, and they're just like, oh my god, this is so scary, and then, knowing that I created that, and there it is, just chasing after them, and they're just in the most terrified state they could be in. Until later, they come back with something else I created, and they're like, I've got the new weapon, and they're just slashing it apart, And so just seeing the different emotional states that people get into as, they either encounter something that's, good or bad,
Yeah, I've definitely had a few of those moments in your games.
Yeah.
All captured for wonderful people.
When you roll or whatever I called it, because I just, with Tale of Chain, I ended up having to do all German names just to make sure I didn't copyright anything. But whatever the troll was, he's such a huge character.
Some might say
that's so big.
Yeah, some might say it hardly seemed fair.
Yeah. Staple phrase.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, that was my thing, and he picked on me for it.
I didn't pick on you.
It was like 3 or 4 different comments you mentioned it in.
Yeah, as well as pretty much anything else you said.
Okay, that's fair. Alright, well, since this is kind of geared more towards newer developers, what kind of advice would you have for somebody who's just starting out, maybe even hasn't downloaded a dev kit or an IDE or whatever?
Sure. Game Maker Studio 1 was around. That was what I used to recommend to people. Since they've moved to Game Maker Studio 2 and discontinued Game Maker Studio 1, I have had some very negative feelings. And then realistically, on trying to find advice for how to fix a problem in Game Maker Studio, every single person I turned to was just like, oh, just use Unity. Or, oh, Unity is so much better, just use Unity. And so, as I'm moving to Unity, that'll be what my next game is made in. And I've got quite high hopes for that. Everything's looking really good. So I'd tell them, go look for Unity. Other ways to do games, but it really depends on what you're trying to make. And if you want something that's, not pixel game, .exe, then you're going to probably want to use Unity. They've also got the RPG Maker games, but never really been impressed by any of those. And I've seen some really well-made ones. With Unity, it's a bit different because there's a lot of stuff that's already there. Can't make your own sprites or models, then make sure you credit people. Nothing more irritating to an artist than somebody who didn't credit them. Are more than happy to let you use their stuff as long as you credit them. And for finding a lot of my sprites, and if you go on there, almost everybody's more than happy, and then you just give them a link to your game. And then on top of that, not only have you increased the amount of people that are going to see your game, but then you also got a free sprite.
You're kind of double dipping on that.
And so, review, you get an extra download. And I use GameJolt for showing off my games. There's other sites as well. If your game is particularly good, you can get it on Steam Greenlight, but quality for that, it can't be just like even Tale of Chain. I wouldn't want to put up on Steam Greenlight. It's just not quite there yet. Music and sound effects are the next hardest part. Depending on what kind of thing you want, there's ways to look around. Even if you don't end up using Unity, I would recommend downloading Unity just so you can go into their assets, or getting a Unity account just so you can get the assets there, because there's a lot of free stuff that's really, really useful. If you want to make your own stuff, there's Fruity Loop Studio, which used to be kind of garbage. Well, it wasn't garbage. It's just now it's actually getting a lot better. And then there's some sound. A quick Google search is usually all you need for that. But as for coding, a lot of tutorials out there, but most of it's just get good. Unfortunately, you gotta do it and redo it and redo it and redo it until you get good enough. Start with the basic stuff. Don't try to do anything crazy at first. You start basic and you learn from there. Make sure that you can have a character that can move left, right, and sideways before you want them to do tag rolls.
Yeah, it could be pretty intimidating to just take a sprite and want it to do like custom animation side rolls while throwing something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just move without an animation, then add that stuff and get everything working there.
It's a lot of work, because with Game Maker Studio, I can do a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I can't have Game Maker Studio anymore. But as I stand right now, I don't know how to make my character move left, right, and sideways. And so, I'm down. And so, that'll be my first step. And once I get after that, then I'll be, doing the next things and attacking and blah, 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 blah. As you make games, though, you get better and better. And so, honestly, make a game where your full goal is just to get to the other side of the map. New project and make a new game. It sounds terrible, but, just being able to do that is much harder than most people think. And then in the next one, try and make sounds attached to everything. Your own sprites, or if you don't want to do your own sprite work, have someone else doing that. But you just go through the different steps, and on the next one, try and make a 10-level game where you got 10 levels to go through with a hub world, kind of like Mario does. You go through step by step like that. If you try to create Undertale all on your own right now, and you have no game experience, you're going to have a terrible time, and you're more than likely going to either A, get frustrated and quit, or B, get bored and quit. The smaller your project at the beginning is, the more likely you're going to actually finish it. And once you do finish it, then you can sit there and be like, yes, I made something. Project.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today in this quick little interview. Is there anything that you would like to say that you feel you left out, or just some extra points you'd like to make?
Not particularly. For making a game to start with, Realistically, when you start your game making process, though, you want to have a couple things in mind, or else you're going to end up with something like my game Amorn, which is that just have a basic plot and character, who's your main antagonist, and what's going on. Like, what are you actually there to do the game? Like, if someone were to ask you, hey, what's your game about, and you can't answer what your game is about in 1 or 2 sentences, you don't have a game yet, and you're not ready to even start building. End up with something where you're just playing the game, but there's no game. And a goat won't save you.
What was that last part?
There's a video game called There Is No Game, so...
Oh, okay. Alright. Now that you mention that, I think I remember it.
It won actually one of the game jams. I think it was a 24-hour or 72-hour game jam. It's a theme of deception.
Okay. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was actually good. It's free on the Android store. That's where I got it. Made my wife play it. It's nice.
Thank you for joining us. I know you'll stick around and you'll be probably talking to people in the comments, because that's what you do. You leave
a
short story for people that are actually interested.
Yeah.
Alright, so the last thing I want to do is give you a chance to kind of announce any upcoming projects you may have, or what people can do if they want to keep in touch with you.
Yeah, sure. When it comes down to it, I am on Game Jolt as Recycled Soul, all one word, and that's where all my games are. And I also have a Discord and a YouTube. My YouTube channel isn't really towards my games. I let other YouTubers play my game instead. But on Discord, honestly, your channel is probably the best way to get a hold of me. And if people want to go to my channel, that's awesome. And go there. If not, and they actually want to just go straight to my Discord, they don't, care for you, or I don't know what the deal is. But, if they just want to go to my Discord specifically, Tale of Chain has all of the information that'll get them to, you go to the Game Jolt. Yep, and one of the other games that I'm working on at the moment is, it's still in the works. I'm still working out all of the plot and everything like that. But it is going to be a top-down RPG. I'm leaning towards having it in a not third-person view, but a three-quarter view, similar to Link, or rather Zelda, or Final Fantasy, like the old games like that. Or I might go with a straight top-down view, similar to the zombie game you played on your channel, or Amorphous Plus like I did on my channel. The game is going to have a Japanese/horror theme, not a Japanese horror theme, but I have a whole bunch of different stuff. There's going to be samurai zombies. There's going to be Yami, which, if you're not familiar with that, go watch Death Note and come back and talk about how much you love Death Note. And then there's going to be all kinds of stuff. There's actually some stuff that your girl Otter helped me come up with. There's going to be some shadowy, evil, demon type of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Alright, so yeah, thanks again for joining us here. Again, like I just said, all the links to your media, your games, and your Discord will be in the description. And I just want to say thanks for producing some great games, and I want to wish you happy developing. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that little conversation I had there, and I hope you guys were able to take away something from it. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, and if you have any other developers that you would like to see interviewed. I already have a few lined up, but I'd love to meet your friends as well. Also, hit that like button if you like this idea, and subscribe if you're new here. But until next time, guys, take care of yourself, and happy developing.